kitty, spit. Okay, so drop C tuning here. C, G, C, F, A, D. You don't really need to worry about, the high 3 strings here. We're just going to be doing the C, G, C really. And it's all really based around, quick open 2, 1, this area here. And for the intro, that's pretty much exactly what we're doing. Open C, 2, 1, open 1, 2, open 1. And we just repeat that, loop that. And I just kind of like to, pick back and forth with it. Just keep that, back and forth picking. And it's just a matter of getting it up to tempo. Right, and we'd crank through that about 7 times, and then we just have these 3 open low chugs of the C, power chord. Just palm muting on that. All right, and then it would kick into the full-blown riff, I guess. All right, and once everything comes in, it's essentially just that first riff, but we're just making like a big power chord out of it now, and cutting loose on it. So basically, just add like the G string, or what's now the G, the second string here. So we got the low C and the G making the power chord, and we're just doing that same open 2, 1, open 1, 2, open 2. Okay, cranking through that, and at a certain point, after about 8 times or so, we continue that riff, but we go through it once, and we start into it again, the 0, 2, 1, 0, 1, 2. But once we get to that 2, we just rest right there. All right, just hesitate for the rest of that measure. All right, and then we just continue on with that. With the verse, we bump it up to the 2nd fret here, so we're just hanging out in this D power chord now. And we start with a kind of, just 2 on the low C and the G. We just palm mute a couple of those, hesitate slightly, 1 more. And then we just drop down and do an unmuted 2 on the G and the middle C. All right. And then we just come back, do a couple of those lower 2s on the C and the G, hesitate once, hesitate again. And then drop down, hit our 2s on the G and the middle C. Do open, low C and G, and then just a full measure of 1st fret for the D flat, and just let that ring. So just slowly. Interlude section here, and we get to have some fun with harmonics. And there's kind of an interesting sounding thing that happens here, because there's 2 guitars playing. One of them kind of does another thing, and one of them kind of does a different thing. For the most part, they're just kind of hitting a quick open low C, and then just hitting harmonics on the 4th fret of the low C, G, and middle C. All right, and like I said, one guitar just kind of does that. And the second guitar, which is a little more faint, is strumming on that just a few times more. Just to keep it going, I guess. So you can kind of, pick and choose which one you want to go with. All right, and harmonics, we're just lightly touching the strings here, not, pushing down on it. So just make sure you get it nice and clear there. Plenty of gain on there so it carries. And we go through that a few times, and then we get, the more faint guitar starts into the outro riff, which is a back and forth between open C to 1. So kind of a quicker one at start, and then we space it out a little more, a couple more times. Back off to open, and then slide up to about 4 fours here, 4 E's. All right, and that would carry on for about 4 times. And then it finishes by doing the open to 1, and then hitting those harmonics at the 4. All right, and then we get into the full-blown outro riff, which it's slightly different than what was going on in the interlude, just kind of one little difference there. The same open to 1, open to 1, open to 1. You know, we're just including that G with the low C to make it a power chord now, of course. But here, instead of doing that open just before we come up to the 4s, it just goes directly from the 1, slides up to the 4s, strums those out. Okay, so just a subtle little difference there. And, you know, it would bust that out 8 times or so, and then the song just ends on that initial main riff, going through that about a time and a half.